All right, Blitzers, this is the Muffin here again. I don't know why this video has just really taken off, but it's all tier 10 tanks ranked from worst to best. Now, I primarily this is all based on public data on blitzstars.com website. Goes over all the stats and statistics. You can see this data right on this website just based on win rate, but from the last time I did this video about a year ago, there's been a lot of other tier 10 tanks that have come in the game, so I just wanted to give a more updated list for you guys and just include and just show you just where these fall just in regards to win rate ranked. And just see if anything has changed over the past year compared to the last list I did when ranking all the tier 10 tanks. So the very last one is the WZ113GFT. Still has the worst win rate across all tier 10s with a 47.87% win rate. Honestly, I think the thing that's really tricky about this tank, it has a little bit of a false sense of armor in the way that you think it's really strong, and a lot of tanks will switch to their heat rounds or gold rounds and just pen it. I don't think it's a bad tank, but it's still ranked as the worst win rate. The next one is the FE4202 with a 47.88% win rate. Doesn't have a lot of turret armor. I don't see a lot of people playing with this. The premium HE round, high penetrating HE round is pretty fun, but I think it's just a lot of people aren't playing it. It doesn't have a lot of turret armor, and I think a lot of people, there's a lot of these, but there's other tanks that have no turret armor that rank higher. So the next one is the Leopard, the Leopard 1 with a 47.90% win rate. Really down there on the totem pole. But I think just the thing that makes this tank so difficult, it has no armor whatsoever. You can't rely on it. There's a lot. I would say, it is an amazing tank to play, but you really have to know how to play with tanks that don't have any armor. The next one on the list is the M48 Patent at a 47.91% win rate. Honestly, not a bad tank. I'm not sure why this one ranks so low on the list in terms of win rate. I think it's just because it's been around so long and a ton of the player base has this, just from maybe players working on a tech tree for so long. And so maybe there's just a lot of non-experienced players playing, but honestly, not a bad tank. And then next one is also the M60 at a 47.92% win rate. Also not a bad tank, but this one I believe was, it's been in auctions and different things like that in the store, but it originally I think was just shotgun blast to the community. Just to a bunch of random players, and I think there was a lot of them that didn't have good win rates, which I think is the reason why this one's so low. The next one is the T11 OE5 with a 48.05% win rate. Honestly, not a bad tank. This is also a tank that's been in the game since the dawn of time. And I think it has a very large player base, which, has a very strong, when you have so many players, all average, the average win rate across all players is, I think, 45, 46 or 7%. So I think it kind of falls right within that, maybe between 45, 50%. So the next one up is the Grille with a 48.11% win rate. I think it's a good tank, but once again, just no armor. You get yourself in positions where you're having to rely on armor, you can get yourself in trouble. This one, I think, has been dropping since the last time I did this list because this tank was actually nerfed. It's the FE215B183 with a 48.21% win rate. I can see this one dropping just because of the nerf that happened on it just a little while back. So that could be a little severe for it, and see that one drop. Still a fun tank in my opinion. The next one is the 121B at a 48.34% win rate. I really like this tank. I don't know why it ranks so low. I think that the majority of players playing with anything that's lightly armored, or maybe like a medium tank, maybe is just difficult for players. This is a tank that also doesn't have a lot of gun depression, so I think players could be just putting themselves in bad positions. The next one up is the T62A with a 48.36% win rate. I really like this tank. After it got just a recent buff, I could see this one actually increasing in the ranks over time and actually getting a higher win rate percentage because now it has 7 degrees of gun depression. It's really an incredible tank. The next one is the FV215B with a 48.39% win rate. I really like this tank. I think it's a good tank. When positioned correctly, it could be really effective, but when you're not, you can really get wrecked. The next one is the STB1 at a 48.45% win rate. This is honestly, I think, a really good tank. It has a really good turret. There's a lot of things about this tank I really do like. Good gun depression. I'm not sure why this one ranks as low. I just think maybe a lot of players are just putting themselves in bad positions where they're exposing a lot of their hulls. Playing with medium and light tanks are a little bit harder, I think. For the general player base, heavily armored tanks, I think, do a little bit better, which maybe we'll see as we go up the list. The next one is the Object 268 with a 48.74% win rate. Good tank. I like this one. They've done some some buffs to it over time, and it's a good tank. The next one is the Bat Chat, which it's interesting the big gap difference between how the Leopard 1 is performing and the Bat Chat is performing. Big gap there, but this one has a 48.75% win rate. This one, once again, doesn't have a lot of armor on it, but I'm just amazed at the win rate difference between the two. The next one, now this is a new one compared to my last list, is the Sheridan with a 48.92% win rate. This one with the missile features, I know a lot of people hate, and there's a lot of emotions around that. And still, when these things first came out, it was really OP in my opinion. And Wargaming has come out with a previous update that nerfed these things. So I don't know. I still think these things are really good tanks. So I'm curious to see how these will change over time. Maybe in another year when I do this. The next one on the list is the T11OE4 with a 49.01% win rate. This one's interesting because it almost gives you like a false sense of armor as well. Like I see a lot of players kind of on the front lines with these things, which isn't bad, but they're trying to rely on armor that's not really quite there. It's not quite an E3. But a good tank. The next one is the WZ113, the DPM machine. This thing's amazing. But it has a 49.01 average percent win rate. It's a good tank, but its armor, I think, lacks a little bit. It can get penned. It does have that very steep glacial plate, but I think, yeah, players can end up putting themselves in positions where you can get pretty wasted. The next one is the Object 140, which is a good tank, but I'm not actually sure why anyone would play this thing just with the T62A, with its just performance, better gun depression, everything. Object 140 has a 49.02% win rate. Next one is the FV4005 with a 49.04% win rate. Good tank. I actually don't have this one, but that tank destroyer autoloader cannon is pretty good. This is another lightly armored tank, but as a tank destroyer, I actually personally like tank destroyers that are more maneuverable and less armor. But I can see how a lot of players may have a hard time with that. The next one on the list is the JgPz E100 with a 49.07% win rate. Very well armored, just I think a good tank. This one honestly, awkwardly enough, can be a difficult tank to play with. You really have to know your positions on the map, and you can really just very easily get Circle of Death in this thing, and I think I see a lot of players having that issue, but good tank. So once again, 49.07% win rate. The next one up is the AMX50B with a 49.18% win rate. I really like this tank. I think a lot of people rely a lot on its turret armor, which you do and can get penned more often than you think. But it's a good tank, but you can also get out DPM'd by things like the Leopard one. And it doesn't have any armor, so you got to be careful. The next one is the T57 Heavy tank at a 49.19% win rate. Really good tank. This thing doesn't really have a lot of armor. It has some strong points, but it's very easy to shoot those weak points on it. But a very good auto-loading cannon. I think players can kind of get mixed up on the effectiveness of how to use auto-loading cannons. The next one is the T95 E6 with a 49.19% win rate, and those last two actually have the same win rate percentage, so they're performing the same. Really good tank, good gun depression. That cupola on top can be a bit tricky, and you can get yourselves in bad positions, like the mines, like trying to crest that hill. That can be a weak spot. The next one is the E50M with a 49.35% win rate. Good tank, well armored all the way around. They increased the gun depression in one of the updates, I think, over the past year. So honestly, but it's well armored. It's a good armored tank, and it's a good medium. Next one is the WZ121 with a 49.37% win rate. Really good tank. I actually don't have this one, but this is one I'm working to get. I've seen a lot of videos and looking at the stats. It's a very well-performing tank, and they've done some buffs to it over since the time it's come out, and it's honestly a good tank. The next one is the IS-7 with a 49.39% win rate. Good. Honestly, the armor on this is very RNG-ish, and very interesting. Large player base. This is a tank that's been in the game since the dawn of time, basically. But good tank, one of those heavily armored tanks. The next one is the Chieftain Mk.6 at a 49.76% win rate. Great gun depression. I really like this tank. The turret can be a little goofy. You think you'd have more turret armor than what it says in the stats based on how it performs on the field. But a good tank. The next one is the E100 with a 49.80% win rate. Good tank, but it does have those really fat side cheeks on its turret that can be easy to pen for other destroyers or heavies looking at you. And so a lot of players, like not angling their turret quite correctly, can get penned quite easily. The one just above that, that I've heard other YouTubers actually bagging on quite a bit, but I actually personally like it, is the VK72 with a 49.98% win rate. Really good frontal armor. The side cheeks are those weak spots, can be a little difficult, but when you're brawling, they can be a little easier to hit. The next one is the Object 263 with a 50.08% win rate. Good tank, good armor, good maneuverability. I like this one. So once again, we're getting into tanks that have more armor and they're performing better. The next one on the list is the T11 OE3 with a 50.22% win rate. I think in general, the population of Blitz players just do better with tanks that have more armor. And rightly so. Tanks that don't really have any armor, they're much harder to play. The next one on the list is the IS-4 at a 50.33% win rate. Great tank, good armor. I actually came out with a recent tips and tricks vid on this one. Next one is the AMX30B with a 50.45% win rate. And I actually got the last two mixed up when I was talking about the AMX between the 30 and the 50. But the 50 it's a heavy, but you almost play with it more like a medium, which can be a little tricky there. The 30 is the one that doesn't really have a lot of armor. It's the medium tank. And the next one is the WZ111 Model 5A with a 50.56% win rate. Good tank. I don't have it. Droodle's actually said some great things about it. I think he said it was one of his favorite tier 10s. Some of the reasons he gave in his video, watch it. It made sense to me. The next one is the FE217 Badger at a 50.57% win rate. Excellent armored tank, very very slow, can get flanked very easy. Once again, I mean, you're starting to get into the more heavily armored tanks. The next one is the VK90 at a 50.90% win rate. Great tank, excellent armor profile. And using it just right, you can be very, very effective and quite deadly. I have the tank. I honestly really like it. The next one on the list is the Mouse with a 51.18% win rate. I don't like the Mouse as much as the VK90, but the Mouse is a lot of fun. I love the large hit point pool. It does have a great amount of armor. The AMX50 Foch, the 155, has a 51.28% win rate. Good frontal armor. They did some nerfs to it, where it didn't have like a 640 average damage cannon. It's auto loader. I think they changed that, but still a great tank, very maneuverable. That frontal armors can be really good, so I can see how this one's performing very well. The next one is the Progetto M40 Mod 65 at a 51.48% win rate. They actually did a nerf on this tank some updates ago, and I'm curious to see. I don't see this one on the field as much as I used to. It's a good tank. I have it. I like it. I don't play with it as much, but this one has a 51.48% win rate. And then the next one up is the Hori Type 3, the brand new Japanese Tier 10 tank destroyer at a 51.63% win rate. A lot of players that have this, and the reason why this one probably ranks so it looks like a great tank, honestly. And a lot of people have said some excellent things about it, but this is a lot of the player base here are going to be those that paid to rush to get it. The more like experienced players probably. And so this one, that could be the reason why it's ranked so high. I don't have this one yet, but honestly, like, it does look like a good tank with a 51.63% win rate. And then still, if you guys remember my first video, the tank that ranked as number 1 is the T22 Medium with a 52.38% win rate. So, a lot of tanks to go over, but this is all the tier 10 tanks as of April 2020. I'll be doing these videos maybe once a year, so keep an eye out. This is the Muffin here. You guys stay cool and keep tanking.